Welcome to this Whole Life Action Hour. I'm Ocean Robbins, and I'm so glad you're here. You're in the right place if you care about your health, if you want to survive, and if you want to thrive. If you want to learn how to be well and optimize wellness in every cell of your body in times of pandemic and in all times, you're in the right place. And we're here today to look at immune health and COVID-19 and how you can optimize your immune system to respond resiliently and effectively and smartly to whatever challenges you may face. And we're here today with one of my dear friends and an extraordinary physician, one of the great health leaders of our times, Dr. Michael Klaper. I'll be introducing him in just a moment. You know, a lot of people who become infected with the coronavirus have extremely mild symptoms. Some people never even realize they had it in the first place. But for others, it can be devastating. It can even be lethal. So what's the difference? It turns out that your underlying health reality has a profound impact on your body's response to illness of all kinds, including COVID-19. And the number one thing you can do if you want to optimize your health now and for the long term is to eat the right foods. We're going to talk about that a lot today. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Nothing you will hear today is medical advice. This is coaching. This is us sharing our own best practices and insights and ideas and resources with you. But of course, you should always use your own best judgment and consult with a qualified healthcare professional for your specific medical issues and needs. That being said, we're going to learn a lot today. This is a project of Whole Life Club. That's Food Revolution Network's ongoing membership community. This week, we are hosting a series of 3 action hours. Today with Dr. Michael Klaper, then on Friday with Dr. Dean Ornish, and on Sunday with Dr. Tara Brock. Whole Life Club paid members get lifetime access to all of our action hours, including transcripts and the chance to submit questions in advance for future action hours. They also get weekly recipes, action of the week videos, a community of support, and a lot more. If you stay to the end, I will tell you more about how you can join in with a special opportunity that's only available this week in celebration of this series that we're running. But right now, we're going to get to talk a lot about immune health and about your immune health, and I want to introduce our guest. Michael Klaper, MD, has practiced preventative and nutritional medicine for more than 4 decades. He's served as director of the nonprofit Institute of Nutrition Education and Research and as a member of the Nutrition Task Force of the American Medical Student Association. Dr. Klaper is the co-founder of Moving Medicine Forward, which is bringing nutrition education into our medical schools. It's about time. He's also the author of several books, a popular speaker, and one of the foremost experts in the world today on how you can make food into medicine that helps you thrive. He's also one of my dearest friends. He's been extremely close to our family for several decades now, since pretty much the day that my dad's first bestseller, Diet for New America, came out. Dr. Klaper joined with our family, helped my dad found and mom found Earth Save International back in the late 80s, and began the lecture circuit, touring the world, speaking out on these issues. He's a dear friend and a mentor to so many people. Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Ocean. It's a joy to be with you and your viewers. Appreciate the invitation.
Well, let's jump right in here to talk a little bit about the immune system. When it functions properly, what should we know about how our immune system is supposed to work? When it encounters, let's say a virus it's never met before, what should it do?
Oh my, the immune system is one of these ethereal functioning, almost without getting too airy-fairy, it's almost an auric protection. What do I mean by that? Well, when we talk about skin or muscle or bone, there's a hard substance there that you can describe its shape, its size, its contour, its components. The immune system is a very mobile, multi-faceted system. There's several layers of it that all combine constantly. At this moment, our immune system is functioning all over our body. It's functioning in our skin to keep the Staphylococcus bacteria down in our skin, our hair follicles from invading. It's functioning in our gastrointestinal system, interrogating the food proteins to see if it wants to let those food proteins in. We're constantly breathing in viruses and bacteria. So our lymphocytes, the mucus, the antibodies in our pulmonary secretions, that's all part of the immune system. Deep in our bones, our bone marrow chambers are filled with this complex to astronomically complex system of bone marrow cells that are putting out lymphocytes and leukocytes that gobble up bacteria, make antibodies. This is all happening at once. And similar to television waves, where's Stephen Colbert's nose? Well, it's all over here. Well, the same thing in our body. Where is the immune system? It's all over everywhere at once. And so we live in a sea of microbes. There are millions of viruses we're breathing in. There's more bacteria in us than our own somatic cells. And you need just this stunningly complex system to keep everything in balance, to keep the invaders out, to nourish the good microbes. It's a wonder of the universe. It's not surprising to understand my colleagues, some in immunology spend their entire careers just trying to understand this one system. So it's a very innocuous question. Tell us about the immune system. But it's one of these
like, tell us about the universe.
Exactly. It makes you get down on your knees and say, what a gift that we have this system. Because when you see people without healthy immune systems, either they have a congenital problem or they're on medications that suppress their immune system, or they have a disease that suppresses it, you see the havoc that these microbial invaders create, the skin abscesses, the blood infections, etc. You see how important this system is to keep our predators away. So a complex answer to a complex question.
Okay. Well, let's just kind of dumb it down to like Saturday morning cartoon level for a second. Okay. So here's a nose. Okay. And here comes SARS-CoV-2 that like gets in there. And what does it do? SARS-CoV-2, of course, is the name of the coronavirus that we're dealing with so much right now. It gets into the nose. It's a DNA packet. It kind of like makes the cells reproduce its own image, right? And spread. And what does it do? And how would a healthy body respond to an invasion like that?
Okay, well, again, number of layers in the answer. When all viruses land on our tissues, and it's usually they're breathed in or consumed in our food, they run into a series of layers of immune function. The mucus in our nasal secretions are filled with antibodies, IgA antibodies, and part of the herd immunity that we are trying to develop here is to have people who've had this infection make IgA antibodies. So as soon as the virus lands on the membranes that are covered with mucus in our nose, the IgA antibodies would surround them and neutralize them. Yay, that's good immunity. We'll come back to that. But your question is about, well, when the virus evades our defenses, how does it cause disease? We've all seen these scary graphics on the 6 o'clock news of the COVID virus and all these spiky little excrudescences coming out of it. These are protein spikes that form the corona of the coronavirus. These little spikes will connect to particular kinds of cells, and these are cells that have a particular receptor on it that's called the ACE2 receptor, ACE2, not the H2 receptors in the stomach there. These are ACE2 receptors, angiotensin converting enzyme receptors. And this virus knows how to pick the genetic lock of these cells that are rich with ACE2 receptors. And it's able to marry on to this receptor and inject its nuclear material, which in this case is not DNA, it's RNA.
Okay, yeah, right. Thank you.
It's an RNA virus. It injects the RNA into the cell, and as you rightly said, it commandeers the cellular machinery to start making making copies of itself. And it's going to invade those cells that have the most ACE2 receptors. So the lungs are very rich with them, and that's where the initial assault takes place. But we're finding now that the blood vessels are lined with these ACE2 receptors, and the viruses certainly activate mechanisms on the blood vessel walls that make the blood clot. These ACE2 receptors are on the filter cells in our kidneys. 15% of people who get sick with COVID virus wind up on dialysis because it damages their kidneys. So any tissues in the body that are rich in these ACE2 receptors provide portals for this virus to latch onto and start replicating its own genetic material there. And then the consequences we see, everything from blood clotting to pneumonias to kidney failure, are the results.
Yeah, there's a common misconception, I think, that it's a respiratory illness. And of course, it does seem to have a major impact on the lungs and breathing. And that's the primary cause of death, most common cause of death with COVID-19 sickness. But it seems that it's a systemic virus, and it will impact everybody in different ways. And for some people, it causes strokes or heart arrhythmias or obviously breathing problems. But it can also, as you just mentioned, cause kidney problems. Now, you said 15% of the people. Do you mean literally 50? Well, we don't know how many people are infected, of course, but
right.
Do you mean that 15% of confirmed cases end up on dialysis, or are you talking about hospitalizations right now?
People get really sick with this. Those who wind up in the hospital,
okay.
15% of those wind up with kidney problems as well. It's not just a pulmonary virus. But you're implying exactly what happens. This virus uses the lungs as a portal of entry. But it gets into the bloodstream, and once it's in the bloodstream, it rides to all the tissues, and can even cause gastrointestinal problems. Diarrhea has been the initial complaint, initial symptom with some of these folks. So you're right; it can affect most every organ system, and we're now seeing inflammatory syndrome in children now. As the weeks go by, we learn more and more about this virus. It is indeed a novel virus, and we're learning more and more about it, but it affects pretty much all the organ systems.
So there's a lot we don't know, but we do know that some people have very mild impact and don't even know they got it, or, and we still don't know much about the asymptomatic carriers. But what's your best guess about what's happening? What do they have going on that the other people don't, that enables them to skate through without much impact?
Oh my, and my colleagues in immunology are in the laboratories right now trying to get the answer to that question. Why do most people, why are they mostly able to fend it off, and they either have no symptoms at all or just a mild low-grade fever and some muscle aches for a day or two, and then they're fine? What is the difference? And again, the more we drill down on this, the more complex it gets, like fractals. The more you look, it breaks up into smaller and smaller pieces. And so when you isolate these people out who really have the adverse effects, who are those folks? Well, we're seeing that, and there's no finger wagging here, but there's clearly the people who are struggling with obesity. Seem to be by far at the greatest risk. And so that gets into the whole chemistry and physiology of obesity, outside of the cosmetic appearance issues. The fat cells in the body are not inert. They are metabolically active, and they put out all sorts of molecules, adipokines and resistance and various molecules that go all over the body. Excuse me. The blood chemistry of an obese person is very different than a person who's not carrying excessive body fat. And we have to assume that some of those molecules coming off the fat depots, well, we know for sure, like the inflammatory cytokines, these are inflammation-producing molecules. And obesity is a state of inflammation. There's a low-grade inflammatory fire burning in the walls of the arteries of obese people in their tissues. And And surely to have a low-grade inflammatory process going on in all your tissues, that's got to interfere with your lymphocytes being able to make good antibodies and for the cells to get around and keep the tissues healthy. So obesity and the chemistry that results from it seems to be one predisposing factor.
Yeah.
Diabetes, surely, if you've got poorly controlled diabetes, your tissues are sweet with sugar, literally. Well, that's got to help the virus. They love glucose in the tissues there. So the poorly controlled diabetes welcomes the virus in due to the sugar loads. People with congestive heart failure due to consistent high blood pressure. The blood backs up into the lungs. Their lungs are full of blood and fluid, and they don't have the circulation needed to clear out pulmonary infections. So the heart failure folks wind up particularly susceptible to this. So again, it's the leaner, healthier, younger folks who seem to have the easier course with this.
Yes. And we know, and we'll be talking with Dr. Ornish in a couple of days about this, that age is not entirely a one-way street, that our telomeres get shorter with age, but there are actually things we can do with a whole foods plant-based diet, with exercise, with loving healthy relationships, with stress reduction, that lengthen the telomeres, which is the fundamental building block for aging or reversing aging. So we can, in a sense, reverse the biological aging process to some extent. Now, some things are going to progress, but we can change the pace of the progression. We can change the nature of the progression. And in some cases, we can actually reverse it, to have more mobility in our body, to have more agility, to have more vibrancy, to have better sleep and more aliveness and more yes to life rather than struggling and suffering through. And it turns out that the things we talk about in Food Revolution Network are really important. The things you've been talking about for the last 40 years, Dr. Klaper, turn out to help reverse the aging process in human beings. When you talk about how younger people do better in the presence of COVID-19, I can't help but thinking that longer telomeres are probably going to be an advantage here. That more vibrancy and health is almost certainly going to be an advantage here. And I want to talk for a moment now about antibodies, because we hear about how people who have beaten the virus have the antibodies for it. It's one of the ways you test to find out if somebody has had it in the past, is do they have the antibodies for it. And the antibodies are essentially the body knowing what to do with it, so that if it comes back, we know we've cracked the code on how to deal with this virus, and our immune system knows how to respond. It's kind of like, if there's, I'm trying to think of a good metaphor here, but it's like, okay, there's an invader coming and you've got a search camera that recognizes their face and puts off an alarm next time they show up, right? So they can still come, but you're going to know what to do with it if you've got the antibodies figured out. So there's some process the body goes through of figuring out how to make those antibodies. And once it's got it figured out, it's like, we know how to deal with this character, And so what helps our body decode the antibody production system so that it knows how to do it? And is it possible to speed up that process so our body kind of figures it out faster?
Oh, excellent question. Before we leave the earlier very valid point you made along the way, what you were talking about with the telomeres, et cetera, there's a big difference between a person's chronological age than your driver's license versus your biological age, which can be much, much younger. And we've all seen people in their 80s and 90s that are vigorous and running and going for 5-mile runs, and they're healthy folks. And we've seen people in their 40s and 50s who have aged themselves dreadfully with their diet and lifestyle choices. So yeah, absolutely, the age on your driver's license does not determine your susceptibility to this virus per se, that's for sure. And as per the telomere phenomenon, we may be well able to improve our vitality. So as far as the antibodies go, and again, without getting in the weeds of immunology here, when the body first encounters a virus, your lymphocyte cells spin out a protein called IgM antibodies. These are the acute phase antibodies. They're there within 48 to 72 hours. You're already making antibodies. They just last for about a week or 10 days and they kind of fade away. But in that week or 10 days, your long-term antibodies, the IgG antibodies that really give you long-term immunity, they are increasing in their concentration. And by 14 days, not that long, within 2 weeks of running into the virus, if you've got a good immune system, you've got a pretty decent complement of IgG antibodies that will keep you immune from the next time you see the virus. So in the question, well, how can we speed this up? No real need to do that. If you've got a healthy immune system, those IgM antibodies are going to be produced, as I said, within 48, 72 hours. And the IgG antibodies will be there certainly within 10 to 14 days. So it's a matter of keeping the machinery healthy to get that nice vigorous antibody response.
Mm. So it's like everybody's got to figure out how to deal with the virus, and it will. Yeah. But we've got to keep it intact in the meanwhile.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
We're talking about the lymphocyte cells in your bone marrow and in your lymph nodes that are reading the virus and making the antibodies. And you want to get them healthy and vigorous, and you don't want to interfere with them. Don't poison them with alcohol. Don't flood them with sugars. Don't be eating lots of heavy oils. All these things interfere with your lymphocytes' ability to make the lymphocytes get out of be a good host, get out of their way, and let them do what they need to do. That's one of the best defenses that you can have.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people are talking about cytokine or cytokine?
Cytokine storms.
Cytokine, yeah, thank you, storms. And we had a question from Nicole about this. She said, I was reading an article on how COVID-19 causes cytokine storms. I understand this has something to do with the immune system and inflammation. I was wondering if Dr. Klaper could clarify for me, what are cytokines, the role they play in the immune system, are they good or bad, and how can we reduce the risk of a cytokine storm if we get an infection? And I was wanting to ask you about that as well. So sure. Tell us how that works.
Right. The cytokines, they're absolutely good. We would not be alive without cytokines. And they're these amazing small protein molecules that injured tissue and various immune cells, macrophages, I believe, will, when there's a site of infection happening, when viruses are invading tissues, when tissue's getting damaged, the immune cells floating by the area there, the macrophages, et cetera, secrete these signaling proteins, these cytokines. Not very many of them, but it's enough to call in the cavalry, to call in the macrophages and the other immune cells that really marshal a good, proper immune response to help eat up bacteria or viruses, whatever the organism is. They're a signaling mechanism to alert the immune system. And again, there's so much as you study the immune system that makes you just get down on your knees. That's so exquisite and humble. How does it know to do that? And why am I saying that? Because the cytokines are put out in very subtle amounts, very small amounts. You don't need much of them. But there's something about this infection in some people, this virus causes such intense either tissue destruction or at least inflammation on a cellular level that a flood of cytokines are released into the bloodstream. And that brings in just a cascade, a tsunami of immune cells someone found a shoplifter in a store and they called in the SWAT team with machine guns. It's a huge unbalanced overreaction. Right. And this is the so-called cytokine storm. People get god-awful sick with this, and there's a lot of tissue destruction, and this often is a terminal event for folks. So it's how it's one way that the virus causes its damage by unbalancing our immune response and calling in this overkill, if you will. That is the cytokine storm. And that's why they're working with immune suppressors, with non-steroidal anti-inflammatories and with prednisone, and ways that they can hush down the cytokine response. It's it's a delicate rope, a tightrope to walk, because if you dampen down the immune system too much, then the virus wins on that score. So
Right.
this is a delicate dance to do, and they're all working out, learn how to do it properly.
Do you think that there are any herbs or supplements that people might take to boost their immune system that might actually have the unintended consequence of causing an overproduction of cytokines?
Oh, that's a fascinating thought. And, this is an unexplored area because most of medicine doesn't believe that supplements have any role here at all. And we can talk about vitamin D and zinc, et cetera, et cetera. But before we get into specific supplements, let me just say that what your father's been saying and you've been saying, the Food Revolution's been saying, and Dr. Colin Campbell in his book Whole is saying, it's the whole food, that salad in front of you, that colorful salad with all the greens and the yellows and the green peppers and the carrots and the radishes. They contain so many thousands of nutrients that our body needs that flood into our tissues with every meal. That's by far the best way to fuel your immune system and to give those lymphocytes what they need. And so again, it's the food, it's the food, it's the food. And you want lots of that fresh, live, good stuff, and you want to stay away from the processed, salty, fatty, sugary stuff that we already talked about. So before we get into specific immune system issues and supplements, it's really important that food as medicine, boy, it's never been more true when it comes to dealing with this response. And like I said, your body's never not looking. It knows what you eat with every meal, and that virus knows what you eat with every meal. And so keep those salads and veggies and soups and salads and juices going. And that's the best way to nourish your immune system. Now, that said, are there particular supplements that may help or may actually hurt? And I know of no studies. In theory, we can talk about whether something like particular mushrooms, the various types can perhaps overcharge the immune system, and you may get an overreaction. I've not seen any reports on that. This is all theoretical. And you don't want to overdose with any of these. Vitamin D can carry a toxicity if you take too much of it. There is such a thing as too much zinc and et cetera. So easy with the supplements, but we can talk about specific ones if you want.
Sure, and I know there was a recent study done, very promising for people who are looking for supplements that may be helpful in terms of vitamin D. Mm-hmm. Specifically, there has been a strong correlation established between low vitamin D levels and high rates of COVID-19 infection. So correlation isn't exactly causation. We don't know all the mechanisms at play, but it does seem that people whose levels are low are more likely generally to get infected, and therefore good reason to make sure your vitamin D levels are not low. Now, that could happen from the sunshine, and that can happen because your body's good at producing it, but it can also happen with supplementation. And so you can get a simple blood test if you're not sure. You want to end up being at around, 50, would you say, or 40 to 50?
Yes, I like to see between 30 and 60. Yes, so 40 to 50 would be a nice number. Yeah. Okay,
got it. And then, so if you're lower, honestly, if you're under 40, probably a good idea to get that up a little bit. Half an hour a day of sunshine over half your body does the job for most people. But a lot of other people find supplementation. I personally supplement with over 5,000 IUs per day. That's what keeps me at that optimal level. Since I've been doing that for the last 5 years or so, I've had, I think, 1 cold, and that's it. And most people get 3 colds a year. My dad, I think, has had like 1 in the last 10 years since he started vitamin D supplementation. So there's some anecdotal evidence there that I personally used to go on, made me a fan for myself. Doesn't mean it's right for you. But there are some interesting studies showing that people with adequate vitamin D levels do get colds and flus less often. And now here we have it showing up with COVID-19 as well. So vitamin D is one we should definitely be thinking about, I think. Mm-hmm. And then there's zinc, right? Which may be of value for some people, mainly if you're low, right? So if you have enough, then supplementing will not do you any good.
Thank you for saying that. It is not some magical amulet that keeps the viruses away. Those studies showing the importance of zinc are usually, they're done in developing nations where people have gross deficiencies of many nutrients, zinc among them. And in the zinc deficient folks, if you give them supplemental zinc, they seem to do better. But if you've got abundant zinc supplies, probably not a big advantage in taking supplemental zinc.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the other one that we're hearing a lot about is vitamin C. And
Right.
interestingly, again, coming back to food, you can actually get quite a bit from food. I mean, there's 200 milligrams in a bell pepper.
Right.
You know, there's 100 something in an orange. So eat 5 oranges and a bell pepper and you're at 700 milligrams. People are supplementing with 500 or 1,000. So, and obviously getting whole food is better. So, and safer. So there's some strong incentive to add some more peppers, guavas, oranges, other citrus to your diet on a regular basis if you want to get the vitamin C intake going up.
Absolutely, because there's so much more than just vitamin C in those oranges and those peppers, et cetera. It helps you on so many levels that, yes, I have a maple orange every morning. It's one of my vitamin tablets there, yeah.
Yeah, great. And then there are some studies showing benefits from supplementation. Again, we don't know if that's because people are low otherwise. But you know, it's a lot of folks I know are taking a little C right now because it probably doesn't hurt. But as in all things, you know, food's best, and listen to your own body and see what makes sense for you. But there is some research going on high dose of IV vitamin C with COVID-19, and the data is still pending on that. We don't know. In the first initial super early stage study, it seemed to reduce hospital length somewhat, but that's a big deal. I'm not going to be going in intravenous injecting vitamin C anytime soon, but for hospitals, you know, it's certainly worth testing more, as are a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Okay, let's get to a lot of the questions we've got from our participants in Whole Life Club here. Barbara said, with all the confusing information about what's best to avoid COVID-19 and also avoid spreading it, do you have a straightforward, simple guideline that would help us keep focused and avoid being pulled every which way with all the confusion?
Oh my. First of all, relax. This virus, it's not a threat to the vast majority of people walking around here. And we've given it almost mythical properties in our imagination here. If you want to get a COVID infection, then you've got to be in, ideally, from the virus point of view, you want to be in close proximity, within 6 feet of someone with an active COVID infection. Viruses are coming out with every breath, every cough, every sneeze, and you're in a closed room where the air is stagnant. And you need to have a sufficient number of viruses in the immediate air that you're breathing in. The amount of the inoculum makes a big difference. If you're just out on the street and you're on a bike and you're passing someone, even if you're 4 feet away and they have the infection, the odds of you inhaling enough viruses from that half-second passing, it's not going to happen. And so you want to then, the corollary, of course, avoid being in small spaces with people who might have active disease. But by and large, if you're just out and around, it's not going to fall out of a tree on you and you know, assault you in that way. So relax as far as if you can engineer your surroundings at all, as long as that social distance is there and the air is moving, and the people around you are not actively coughing, the odds of you getting this thing are really tiny. And especially if you've got a good immune system, it won't be a big problem. Yes?
Just to add to that quickly, there was a study out of China where they studied over 7,000 people who had had COVID infections, and they looked at where they'd gotten it. And with these 7,000 people, they went in depth with each of their lives, and they figured it out. And in only one case had the transmission occurred outdoors. So obviously it can happen outdoors, and there's evidence of it there. But it does appear, as you just said, that indoors, small spaces heighten the risk dramatically, because whatever comes out is going to stay there. And, you know, dilution is the solution to pollution. So outdoors with lots of airflow, you got the whole world moving. And therefore, because it's primarily an airborne pathogen, Obviously, it can transmit through touch and things we touch too, but primarily airborne at first. That's where we've got a major advantage outdoors.
Right. And when you walk into one of these big box stores and they've got these massive industrial air conditioning systems in the store with this huge airflow turnover, again, unless there's someone coughing right on you in front of you there, the odds of just being in the building and getting it are microscopic, I would think. There's got to be pretty intimate contact with a big inoculum full of viruses. So avoid getting yourself in those positions. Now they've just opened up restaurants here in South Florida, and so my wife and I, we're going to wait a week or two and let everybody get the rhythm together. But I'm not going to have a lot of fear going into a restaurant. But I'm going to sit down. There's a lot of these lovely outside chairs, and we'll have an outside table, and I'm going to enjoy the restaurant meal. Again, stay away from those areas where the virus load would be high. Be the best thing to do. And the mask thing is controversial, but if everybody in the restaurant or whatever is wearing a mask, I would think the odds of there being many viruses in the air are pretty small as well. So keep yourself healthy, stay out of closed spaces, and spend most of your time outside, and you ought to be fine.
And wash your hands a lot.
And wash your hands a lot.
Because there's no question that can transmit it too. If you touch something that somebody's coughed on or sneezed on, and then you touch your face, there you go.
Yeah, in theory. But again, when the UPS person leaves a package out of the front door, and I pick, what are the odds of this delivery person having actively coughing into his hand, putting it on the package, have enough live viruses surviving enough for me to, when I pick it up, there's so many viruses that it's going to get somehow into me. I think on inert surfaces, it's a small threat, and people are so afraid of the tomatoes they bring back from the store. Again, we run them underwater. There's chlorine in the water, but I don't scrub my vegetables. I'm not paranoid of it getting it off the lettuce from Whole Foods. I don't think that's where I would get the virus. There's
no known transmission through food yet. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but it's never been documented per se. And so, there's always risk assessments here. It's a kind of cost-benefit analysis each of us has to review. And some people have more risk tolerance than others, partly based on your level of vulnerability. If you're somebody who is obese, who is suffering from diabetes, who has cardiovascular disease, who is over the age of 60 or 70 or 80, or you've got someone in your family who is, then you're at a higher risk level and you need to be more careful. And so the thing that could only present a 1% chance of exposure over the course of a year, maybe to you is not acceptable. Whereas to somebody who is in a different status, who's a breadwinner for your family, who is just in a different context, like it's a different equation. So I have a lot of respect for everybody assessing their own level of vulnerability and comfort and what's going to bring them peace. And for some people, what will bring you peace is to sanitize the package or leave it outside for a day after it gets delivered before you bring it in the house. And you'll feel more comfortable and at home and safe in your home if you do that. And for other people, it'll bring them more peace to bring it in and feel like they're part of the flow of life and they're not trying to barricade against everything. So everyone, I think I just want to say I respect your own attunement. This is a conversation we're all going to be having with ourselves, with our loved ones, with our families, probably for a while. So let's get familiar with it and develop the routines that make sense to us. And it's going to be a moving target. And quite frankly, if infection rates spike in your community, you're probably going to find your risk assessment shifting. If someone close to you gets sick, it's probably going to affect you differently than if that hasn't happened. If you're personally facing it right now, you're going to have a different review of this than somebody else might. So everyone's got their own pathway around this. I have a lot of respect for it. And thank you, Michael, for imbuing us with a sense of relative safety around the basic protocols. And I do know that hand washing is something I'm going to continue to practice. And every time I come home from anywhere public, sanitize on the way in the door before I touch the front door. We got hand sanitizer right outside, come inside and then wash my hands, change my clothes if I've had exposure. If I've been wearing a mask out there and I've been around other people where I've been within 6 feet of other people, I'm going to take it off by the loops over here without touching the front, put it in a safe place and leave it for a few days. in general, the virus doesn't last very long on surfaces. So obviously in studies, yes, it can last in a totally pristine environment at the perfect temperature for 3 days or 5 days or whatever, but it lasts on cardboard for a matter of hours. So, generally you can assess that and leave things be for a while. You don't necessarily have to launder them if you can just rotate. So those are a few things that I practice. And again, use your own best judgment here.
Dr. Ocean, that was one of the most elegant, beautiful, concise summaries of the situation. You just phrased it absolutely medically appropriately and with a great humanitarian, realistic flavor to it. Very well done. I'm glad we're recording that. That should be put out on the web by itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. We heard from Carol who said, if we contract coronavirus, do we starve the fever or feed it? I always heard starve a fever, feed a cold. If we are to feed it, what do you recommend? And also, please share thoughts on olive oil. There's so much conflicting news on whether it's good or not. Two very different questions, but love to hear your answers to both.
Right. Well, the old one, feed a cold, starve a fever, etc. When it comes to common colds, you want to give your tissues the nutrients they need. Again, if you're hungry, have those salads and healthy veggies. But as one who just spent 8 years at True North Health Center where we did therapeutic fasting, the whole idea of what is not so crazy. Starve a cold, maybe a brief water fast for a couple of days. If you've got a real exposure, you could make a case. I'm sure they're not doing the studies right now, but it's not so crazy. If you find yourself not very hungry, then that might be a clue from your body that this is a day, just drink water or for a day or 2 or 3. And there are indications that fasting does seem to boost your immune system. So if you find your appetite going down, take that as a cue. Just do a brief water fast for a day or 2 or 3. It might really help you kick the virus. But other than that, again, make every meal count when you are eating. You want those fresh, whole fruits and vegetables. They are by far the best medicine for you.
Yes, thank you. Angela had, olive oil, sorry. Let's get to that one. A little tangential perhaps, but important because what we feed our bodies always matters. And so what's your take on olive oil?
Right, yeah. By and large, I'm not a big fan of liquid oils. I think they're liquid fat in a bottle, and many of them create adverse effects. Unlike when you eat a whole olive, the micro droplets of olive oil get into the bloodstream very slowly. They don't exert much of an effect in your blood vessels, etc. When you're consuming large amounts of liquid oil, they can paralyze the linings of the blood vessels to keep them from putting out nitric oxide. The heavier saturated fat oils can make the blood more viscous. And if you're diabetic and you have insulin resistance, the last thing you want is more fat clogging up your insulin receptors. It will make insulin resistance worse. So by and large, I'm not a big fan of liquid oils. That said, I do have to recognize 2 things. One is extra virgin olive oil has tiny little fragments of olive in it, and in a fine slurry of it, as in extra virgin olive oil, it seems to mitigate some of the adverse effects on the inner lining of the arteries. I don't view it as a health food, but it seems to be less injurious. And again, the dose makes the poison. A teaspoon of olive oil on your salad, I don't think it's going to cause any issue one way or the other. But if you're in the Mediterranean diet, pour on the olive oil crew, and you're pouring tablespoons of oil, I think you're going to produce adverse effects. So a few drops of it for flavoring, I don't have a problem with it, less than a teaspoon amount. But it's no magic ingredient, and I'm suspicious of the other effects that it has, especially on diabetes. So there's other ways of seasoning your food.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, and in our family, because we are all pretty healthy and we're more in a maintenance program than a recovery program when it comes to our diet and lifestyle, we have salad dressing. And I mean, I think the right place, a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, and the right place to use oil is in a place that helps you eat more vegetables. So we make a salad dressing, and, the fats in it, there's lemon juice and so organic soy sauce and raw onion and nutritional yeast. And then the fat is a combination of tahini, from sesame seeds, and then we use some oil in there as well. And so I use a combo of three because they all have pros and cons. I use olive oil, MCT oil, which it's controversial, but it may have some benefits, and flax oil from, relatively fresh flax, and that gets some good omega-3s. I do not promote that as a health food. I promote that as a tasty way to make our family enjoy vegetables and salad more. And that, I think, is good.
Well said, sir.
Yeah.
Important distinction. I agree with that.
Yeah. Angela said, can Dr. Klaper please comment on ways to help edema? I'm 100% plant-based, using turmeric and herbs in cooking or juicing to heal arthritis. No salts or processed products, but suffer from edema during hot weather. I take no medications as they cause me other problems. Any thoughts?
Well, I'm assuming edema down in her ankles. I'm not sure where the edema is. Edema is water where it doesn't belong in the body. And we're meant to be active creatures. A million years ago, we spent our days foraging and climbing trees and running away from leopards. And now we sit for hours in front of computers, and gravity is relentless. It pulls blood down to our leg veins, and blood down the leg veins will diffuse liquid out into the leg tissues. So it may just be as simple as dependent edema. And that's the case, every hour, sit up straight, pull your chair back and put your feet up on the desk for 5 minutes and pump your ankles or go take a walk. The second, this person likely has some varicose veins deep in their leg muscles. And if that's the case, the blood again stagnates on the legs, and that can produce edema. If you've got varicose veins, if you've had a couple of kids, you likely do. You may want to go see a vein specialist, get an ultrasound of your veins, and find out if that's what's driving the edema. And finally, insulin makes people retain salt in water. And if you're eating too much, especially refined sugars, desserts, etc., the high insulin response might make you retain some sodium, and that might cause it. But it's most likely sitting with some varicose veins is the most likely thing. So do more walking, eat less sugar, and see if you need to get your veins fixed.
All right, thank you so much. Cheryl had a couple questions for you about your work. She said you were on a 200-stop tour lecturing to medical students about plant-based nutrition. She's wondering, were you able to complete that tour before the COVID crisis emerged? And what were your observations as a result of your time with thousands of medical students? How receptive were they to integrating this way of life into their lives and their future professions?
Oh, thank you for that question. So important. The answer, was I able to finish the tour? No, nuts. And when I realized I saw all these events being canceled, I realized I'm on that list of all these speaking events that I had to cancel. So what are we doing? It's still important to get this information out to the students. So like everybody else, we're shifting online. And what we're going to be doing, which we're going to do anyway, when I go to the individual medical schools talking about the importance of their patients' diets as the reason they're sitting in front of us as patients, I didn't want it to be a one-time drive-by lecture. I want to establish a nutrition interest group at every school. And once a month, people would sign on. We do a nutrition-based case. We would talk about the applied nutrition aspects of various illnesses. And then people would chime in about what's working at their med schools and their curriculum, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's still intact, and we've shifted into high gear now. So I'm spending my days, when not being interviewed, getting our nutrition course for medical students online. And most of the way through diabetes. I'll have cardiovascular disease done next month. And in July, we're going online. Once a month, we're going to have nutrition hangouts. We'll come up with a better name for them. But people across the country will be able to sign on, especially the medical students and the health professionals. And again, we'll have sent out the case a week before. We'll have a case discussion and really bring nutrition to life. So that's going to be, we'll start off as monthly events, and I'll put it out on on my website and my Facebook feed, etc. So we're shifting online for that. And hopefully there'll be a book coming from that as well. Yes, the issue is, am I still working? Absolutely, but we're doing it online these days. What's been the response? Tremendously positive, because in every first, second, third year medical school class that I spoke at, 20, 30, 40 students, and they've seen movies like Forks Over Knives, they've seen What the Health, they've seen Conspiracy. The light's on. These kids know that food is important, or they want to know how to use it, but they know the food is a real issue there. So today's modern media has made my mission so much easier. They're so much more receptive. There's always a few professors in the back with their arms folded saying, show me double-blind placebo-controlled studies that this makes any difference. But there's getting to be more and more studies. So we're starting to reach those folks, but nutrition doesn't lend itself to double-blind placebo-controlled studies. People know what they're eating.
I don't know whether I'm eating celery or not.
Exactly, right. Exactly.
Is it celery or is it a piece of white sugar pill?
Exactly. At the time, you have to eat the same amount of celery every day for 25 years to see your insulin. Nobody does that. And so nutrition studies are of a different ilk altogether. Dr. David Katz and his True Health initiative has gone into that. If people are interested, Google Dr. David Katz's True Health initiative to see the different criteria of proof. But by and large, the studies are starting to show up. The students are very receptive, and more professors are. And so before we leave that, if any of your viewers know someone in a medical school that they would like to awaken their nutritional interest, or they're already interested in nutrition but they'd like to connect, go to my website, drklaper.com, DOCTORKLAPER.com, click on Moving Medicine Forward, and there's a little blue square down there. If you know a medical student or a faculty member, give us their information, we'll contact them and put them on the mailing list. So, so our program, Moving Medicine Forward, is still very active. And we want to reach all the med students and keep this, kindle those nutritional fires in their head and keep them burning bright.
So critically important. And for those of our audience who don't already know, less than a third of the medical schools in the United States have a single required course in nutrition. The average physician graduates with less than 19 hours of nutritional education, and most of that is focusing entirely on the specific disease patterns that set in with lack of certain nutrients. There is virtually no attention given to how to prevent or reverse illness with diet and lifestyle, which is kind of like firefighters never being told about water in all of their firefighting education. And but that's the norm today, and Dr. Klaper is helping to change it, and we're so grateful for that. And Food Revolution Network is helping to change it as well. We launched a campaign in tandem with American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and it started with a petition to the National Board of Medical Examiners, calling on them to make nutrition a part of the exams that were given to med school graduates in order to get licensed, which it's not right now, by the way. The exams have nothing about it, and schools have to teach to the test. So they basically came back to us and said, okay, if you all will provide the questions, we'll add them to the bank. There's 10,000 questions in the bank. So we said yes, we raised the funds last year, and now we're working hard with the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine, getting all those questions written. Dr. Klaper will be reviewing them. We'll be adding 1,000 questions to the National Board of Medical Examiners Bank, making essentially 10% of the question bank be about diet and lifestyle. One step at a time. Now schools will be able to teach to the test and also teach about this stuff that Dr. Klaper is bringing, and we can change the course of medical knowledge, which will change the way that medicine is practiced so that food becomes recognized as the foundation of health that it is. So big celebration to you, Michael, and gratitude to you for what you're doing, and so glad to be working together on this.
Well, Seth, thank you for all your assistance in that. And it's embarrassing that my profession doesn't ask about what our patients are eating. That's why they're sitting in front of us, obese and diabetic and hypertensive and clogged up and inflamed. And we got to tell the students that's where to start before you order another $1,000 scan. Ask what they ate yesterday, and then that's the place to start working. So thank you for all your support and increasing the awareness about it, bro. You're a real ally. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we got lots more questions. We'll see how many we can get to. Barbara said, my doc said I had low natural killer cells. What does that mean in relation to COVID-19? And what can I do about it? And just FYI, the tests that indicated that are CD857 and HNK1.
Right. You drew a blood test, and on that particular day, these particular cells that eat up particular kinds of viruses and bacteria were a bit low. What does that mean? It means, one, take a look at your lifestyle, but two, don't lose much sleep over it. Unless you've got HIV or some type of actual immune suppressing disease. Realize that our immune system is a constantly dynamically fluctuating system. A particular cell at 9 in the morning, maybe at this level, and by 1 in the afternoon, depending how much activity you did, what you ate, how much sleep you got, what if you took an aspirin. So many of those things can raise the level up high, can suppress it. And these blood tests are just little snapshots in time about what this dynamically changing system was doing just at that second the needle was in your vein. And so if you're basically a healthy person, one, there's no real reason to be concerned about your natural killer cells unless you're getting frequent infections. And again, realize that it was probably an artifact over, the factors that I mentioned, what you ate, how much sleep, how much stress, other medications. But it is a little mirror saying, well, what have you been eating? And have you been drinking alcohol? Have you been depriving yourself of enough sleep? Have you been eating a bunch of sugar? That's the question to ask yourself. And if the answer is yes, fix those things. But by and large, if you're eating a great whole food plant-based diet and on one test your NK8 cells were a little low, go out for a walk and eat an apple and you'll be fine.
Thank you so much for that. Let's see, we heard from Lisa who said, I'm working on improving my plant-based diet by getting rid of the vegan junk food. Yay. Confused on what processed food is good and what isn't. I buy locally made organic tortilla shells. Is this okay? I like convenient things like pre-cooked rice. Is this okay?
Yeah, important questions. The more the hand and mind of man gets involved in the food and turns it into something unrecognizable, the worse it is for you. We want to eat potatoes, not potato chips. We want to eat corn on the cob, not corn chips. The very act of turning that corn on the cob into a corn chip, not only do you have to dry it and powder it, etc., but you've got to cook it at high temperatures, and you've got to add a bunch of chemical stabilizers and flavorings and colorings and dough conditioners and antioxidants, all those things to get it to be that chip or that whatever. So if it's anywhere near that category, especially if it's packaged in a brightly colored foil bag, don't eat it. You know enough just seeing it hanging on the shelf in the bag there. That said, we have to start splitting hairs on what is food processing. Any cooking basically is processing in a way. So the fact of grinding corn into flour and making tortillas, is that processing it? Yeah, it is, but there becomes an acceptable level. Like, as you said, if it helps you eat more vegetables, if you're loading that tortilla up with all these wonderful vegetables, and it's a great way to get those veggies in, and it was minimally processed just to turn into flour and bake it. I don't think that's a problem. The same with the parboiled rice. I don't think you're losing any nutrients. You're not adding a lot of free radicals, especially if water is involved, as it happens when you're boiling rice. So as long as it's there isn't high temperature and chemicals involved, and the processing is minimal, like just grinding into flour and baking. I think that's probably the line where you can feel okay about eating those kind of processed foods, but less is more when it comes to processing, no doubt.
Yeah, thank you. And also a note about corn tortillas, there's a big difference between, for example, the Food for Life brand with organic sprouted corn, filtered water, sea salt, and lime, and that's it, versus some that have all kinds of other chemicals in them. So if you see chemicals you don't know how to pronounce, then put it back on the shelf and look for another option.
Well said, sir. Absolutely. You should need a chemistry degree to read a label. I agree.
We heard from Sandy, who said, I'm a 65-year-old woman. I'm 10 years in on a low-fat, whole food, plant-based diet. My health's excellent, except over 200 on cholesterol and allergies from environments such as dust and seasonal things like hay fever. My mother and two sons have allergies as well. Is it genetic? What or how can we increase our immune system and make it stronger? I'm concerned about COVID-19 and my immune system as well. Obviously, we're talking about that second one, but any thoughts on allergies?
Right. Just because you have allergies doesn't mean you've got a bad immune system. On the contrary, you've got one that's pretty tuned up and it's reacting to environmental stimuli. One, check out the environment. Do you have a cat at home, or is it seasonal? Is it affected by pollens in the air, etc.? A lot has to do with the food you're eating. Again, if there's a lot of processed food, if there's dairy in your diet, those may sensitize your membranes in your nose. So when that pollen grain lands on it, ooh, you get a big response. But it was really from the food you're eating. So the nutrition side of it goes back to the same old recipe. Eat those stabilizing foods. Have those salads every day, and the yellow and green vegetables. Do everything you can do to give your immune system what it needs. Look around your house and check your pillow that you got your face buried in all night. Maybe it's time to change that. Maybe are the carpets all mildewed, or is this something that you can change in your local environment? Go take a trip somewhere, and if your symptoms magically get better when you are in somebody else's house or in a hotel or whatever, and you come back home and the symptoms get worse again, then it's probably telling you there's local allergens in your local area that you need to deal with. The cholesterol level. Go to my website. I did a memo on this. Cholesterol levels in vegans commonly go up over the years. It's probably the liver's just making more cholesterol as a floating depot to hang essential fatty acids on. Elevated cholesterol is not the same thing as the disease of atherosclerosis, which is an active inflammatory disease burning in the walls of the arteries. So you can have, your liver can put out high cholesterol without that causing the disease of atherosclerosis, which is most common in plant-based folks. So I did a video on this. Go to my website, drklaper.com, and click on Beyond Cholesterol. See my video on Beyond Cholesterol, and it explains the difference between high cholesterol and the disease. And I've got lots of vegans with cholesterols over 200. They will never develop a stroke. It's not the same as the folk who is injuring their arteries with meat meal after fried food, after high fructose corn syrup and phosphoric acid and cola drinks. It's injuring their arteries hour after hour after hour, setting the stage for that inflammatory disease. The high cholesterol is not the problem.
Thank you. That's fascinating. I haven't watched that video. I will.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're nearing the end of our time here. So I just want to thank you so much. And before we wrap, I do want to put you on the spot with one question. Top 10 or so foods to bring down inflammation and support healthy immune response in the time of a pandemic and beyond. What would you put on that list?
Absolutely. Echoes of Dr. Furman and his G-bombs come up, and he's absolutely right. You want something dark and green every day, without question. You want dark green leafy vegetables, kale, collard, chard, broccoli, bok choy, etc. You want those berries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries. They're really important. Onions and garlic, I think there's no question they've got some good immune system promoting functions. Nuts and seeds. I have a handful of walnuts most every morning, and mushrooms. We eat lots of mushrooms. They're just about every meal, every lunch or dinner. There's some mushrooms there. So certainly go with those 5 foods. And again, that steady stream of whole grains and legumes. But the very important thing is what's not in there. This is not the time to be eating a lot of processed stuff with salt, sugar, oil, et cetera, et cetera. So keep a pure food stream with lots of those 5 food sources. And don't worry, be happy. You go out for a walk every day, and you got to do is make sure the people around you are okay is really important. Volunteer at the food bank, send them some money, make sure your neighbors have enough to eat, and there's tranquility in your neighborhood. It's time to care about others and do something loving people. That's one of the best things you could do. But go with those 5 foods, and you'll have a pretty good immune system.
Thank you. I actually want to just say a word about that last comment, because I think it is so important. I think that we don't just have a need for food. We also, in a world with hunger, we also have a need to share. We have a need to contribute. And in times like these, when there is so much suffering and pain and fear around us, I think that whatever resource we have, it becomes imperative that we find some way to contribute. So if you have financial resources, you can give that. If you have extra food in the garden, you can share that. If you have time because you're unemployed, how can you use that in some way that might contribute to the welfare of others? I think that this is a time when service helps us to find our solace, helps us to find our sense of peace and our sense of place. And so there's nothing quite like isolation and loneliness to destroy the human spirit. We know that loneliness can kill faster than cigarettes. And loneliness isn't just a product of not having hugs, which a lot of us miss right now, but it can also be a product of not feeling connected and not feeling like we're part of, in a contributing way, the world around us. So rather than screaming at the TV or feeling more cynical and miserable and getting more bitter, let's use the pain and suffering of our world as a catalyst to evoke our own immune response in a healthy and constructive way, to be a part of contributing in some way. Because we're part of each other's lives, we're part of each other's destinies, and let's start acting like it. So whatever that means for each of us, Michael, I want to thank you for your generosity. You know, as a physician, your waiting room has expanded to include all of humanity. You've always been asking, how can I help? How can I serve? How can I serve my patients? How can I serve the families that are counting on them? How can I serve the medical system? How can I serve the world in the greatest and brightest and most beautiful way possible? And I am so honored to share this time with you and to share this work with you. And on behalf of all of our participants, I thank you for your time, your wisdom, your insight, and your work.
Thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and best to you, Ocean, and all your viewers. Keep up the great work. We need it.
Thank you so much. So now we're going to make a transition. We're going to let Dr. Klaper leave, and I want to invite you to stay on with us. If you want to learn more about how you can apply all of this in your life so you can get lasting, sustained results, if you want to land the plane and make this happen, then I want to tell you more about Whole Life Club. And I invite you to stay on to learn about a special opportunity to join in this week for a massive discount. But first, goodbye, Dr. Klaper, and thank you again.
Goodbye, Ocean. All the best to you and yours.
And to you as well. So if you're already a member of Whole Life Club, no need to keep watching because you already know how amazing it is. But if you aren't, then this is an opportunity right now to learn more about what Whole Life Club is, how it works, and what it might do for you. Now, WHOLE is an acronym. It stands for Welcoming, Healthy, Organic Lifestyle Empowerment. And we created Whole Life Club because we were sick and tired of seeing so many people get inspired, get passionate, get lit up, and then over time life happens and stuff gets in the way and they wind up back in the familiar ruts. And then in the long run, the truth of the matter is that your health doesn't come from bright ideas or good books. It comes from what you eat and how you live. And so the goal of an event like this, the goal of Food Revolution Network with all of our blog articles and all of our summits and all of our online courses is not just to give you information. The goal is to help you take action that gets you results in your life so you can prevent or even reverse cardiovascular disease, so you can have a smart, healthy, vibrant immune system, whether there's a pandemic or not. We want to help you to create the conditions that makes your body hostile to cancer, that makes your body able to regenerate and replenish, that lengthens your telomeres, that helps you to have the wellness and the vitality and the spring in your step that you deserve. And so the goal of Whole Life Club is to help all that to happen, not just for a day or a week or a month, but for your whole life. Every month in Whole Life Club, we've got a theme. We've had themes in the past like brain health or heart health or anti-cancer living or blood sugar balance or boosting your energy levels. Every month we got a theme, and in that month, then you get specific resources to help you make progress around that month's theme. And those resources include a monthly action hour with a guest expert focusing on specific steps you can take and helping you learn more. And you can, as a member, ask questions to submit into those events. And then also every month we get weekly Action of the Week videos focused on specific steps you can take. I'm so happy to host those and share those. And you get recipes. And this is probably the most popular part of Whole Life Club. When you join, you instantly get access to our entire bank of past action hours and Action of the Week videos and over 400 recipes that you can search by ingredients you want to use, or ethnic cuisine, or by specific allergies, the things you want to avoid. Or you can just look for breakfasts or lunches or dinners or snacks or desserts or whatever it is you got a hankering for. You'll probably find it. And then every week we've got 5 new recipes, and they focus specifically on that month's theme. So if it's Brain Health Month, we're going to have recipes that feature ingredients that focus on how you can boost your brain health. So when you join, you get the whole library and all of the recipes and all of the action hours, and you get access, of course, to all the new ones as they come out. It's like having a wind at your back, just steadily and easily and consistently supporting you in making the right choices for your health and your wellness. We conducted a survey recently. We asked our Whole Life Club members, how's it going? How is it impacting you? How has your life changed since you joined? And we found that statistically, our members were, most of them, finding that they had lost excess weight when they had joined with excess weight. We found that people had more energy, that generally they had more continuity on their healthy choices. They were getting off of medications they no longer needed. Many people were having less loneliness and more sense of connection around their healthy food life. It was getting easier and easier to do the right thing. So if you can relate to wanting any of that, if you're interested in joining a steady community of support and having a wind at your back and having greater strength and resiliency on your healthy food journey, then this is a great opportunity, because this week, Whole Life Club is on sale. You see, this week we're having a series of action hours. Today, of course, with Dr. Klaper, and then on Friday with Dr. Dean Ornish, and then on Sunday with Dr. Tara Brock. So there's a whole new raft of people that are getting exposed to our work right now, and we want to make it easy for you to step forward and take the next step. So there's over a 40% discount on Whole Life Club just for this week, which makes this an incredible opportunity to join. And it also comes with a 60-day total money-back guarantee. So if you don't love it, if you aren't just rocking it, if you aren't feeling really solidly enthused, no problem. You can ask for a refund within 60 days and get every penny back. But you can also join in, and if you stay with it, which I think you will, then you're going to be able to stay with it long term, because Whole Life Club gets locked in for you at the discount price. That means your rates will not go up as long as you keep your membership active. We may raise the price in the future, but not for you, not if you join today. Recently, I got to chat with one of our members, Kathy from Iowa, and she's had some pretty tremendous results since she joined Whole Life Club. She wanted to share those with you, so she created a little video, just me chatting with her, to talk about what Whole Life Club has meant in her life. And let's be very clear here that this is just one individual sharing her story and experience. What actually happens for you might be totally different. But the truth is that when you feed your body the right fuel, you create the optimal conditions to get positive and healthy results. So here's what happened to Kathy. Here we go.
I am Kathy, and I'm from Burlington, Iowa now. I'm a kind of a recent transplant. I've just been here 3 years.
And when you came into this way of eating, and Whole Life Club in particular, what were some of the biggest health or lifestyle cchallenges that you were facing, and how did those impact your life?
Well, my challenges before joining the Whole Life Club were not uncommon. I joined Weight Watchers umpteen times in the last few decades, and up and down with the weight, and but I was just addicted to fast food. I loved fast food from the day McDonald's came to Sacramento, California when I was 15 years old. I just loved it. So I knew I was not eating well, but I didn't want to know, what the downside was of that kind of eating. But then all of a sudden I wanted to know.
And so what happened when you wanted to know? What did you discover, and how did it change your life?
It just resonated more with me, the whole foods, plant-based eating. So at that point, that was back in November, the end of November, I kind of became vegetarian and as much vegan as possible. And so I just really started eating differently. So much fewer processed foods, a lot more fruits, vegetables, legumes, grains. But it's still a work in progress, I have to tell you. I still, you know, one thing I love about your approach and your tone is that you don't have to be perfect right away. It's just a journey. It's toward whole food, plant-based, and any steps are worthwhile. Yeah. And I love that it's healthy for me and that it's healthy for the animals. I never wanted to kill animals. I never wanted to know about those factory farms. And it's good for the environment. And I'm, like so many people, feeling a little helpless these days with the state of the world. And so it makes me feel really good that I'm contributing in these good ways to things outside of myself.
Wonderful. What have you found in Whole Life Club specifically that has been helpful to you in the journey?
Oh, just information. I have to say, we've replaced our cookware with ceramic. We've replaced our food storage with glass, and I have a water purifier on the counter, and I mean, all kinds of lifestyle things. But just on a regular basis, I'm surprised that I love your emails on all different topics on avocados. I love avocados, so I found out so much good information about that. It just seems, I'm just surprised. Usually I don't read long emails, but I'm really fascinated and interested in all the information that just comes on a regular basis. And I have to say, I think what I like the best about Whole Life Club are the action hours, because I love just being repeatedly motivated by these knowledgeable, reasonable, dedicated people in their fields that do such a good job of bringing us that information that we need to know on all the related topics.
Thank you. Have you found benefit to your health in these months since you've been on this path so directly? And how is that showing up in terms of your weight, your vitality, things you can do, etc.?
I've definitely felt benefits since I've been with Whole Life Club. I have just lost 30 pounds that really was so effortless compared to past weight loss experiences, because I don't have to weigh and measure and write down anything. I just changed what I'm eating, and that kind of took care of that. And so since I lost the 30 pounds, I just have more energy, and I can run. I can actually run with my heels up in the air, which I haven't done in, a few decades. I don't think. I was just, jogging and lumbering along at the best. But I just have added more exercise and movement because I want to move. That's amazing.
Fantastic. Anything you would say to somebody who is considering joining Whole Life Club?
I would say joining Whole Life Club is totally worth it. It's motivating. If this is a change you want to make in your life, then it takes the place of a support group, kind of, because you just get constant support and information and encouragement for adopting this new lifestyle or heading in this new direction that you want for your life.
Beautiful. How has, if at all, your participation in this community affected others in your family or your friends or community?
Well, my participation in Whole Life Club has affected my husband, whom I live with, of course, and his father, who is why we moved here in the first place. So those two are my closest eating partners. And they will go wherever I want to go, and they will eat whatever I put in front of them. And my husband is obese, and he's pre-diabetic, and he's not that worried about it. But he's just, I guess by being around me, I think he's eating fewer processed foods, but he is eating more good foods because we have good foods in the house now, and that is what I fix. And so just by kind of association, he's adopted some better habits. Also, last week we went on vacation with two morbidly obese friends, And just watching them eat what they eat and drink what they drink, it made me feel good by comparison that I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And by the end of the vacation, the man said, well, Kathy's inspired me to eat this salad. So he got a big salad instead of, his, what he usually would eat. And then his wife also once had a big salad, where that was the only time I'd seen her eat a salad. So, and we went on a bike ride, which I guess they haven't been on bikes in years and years. So, I guess it does make a difference just being around people that, it just raising awareness. Here, there are a lot of church meals that we go to, and I don't want to eat any of those foods. So, people ask about it, and I try and be just as nice and accepting and non-judgmental about it, but at least they know that I'm watching what I eat, and, and they can see that it's made a difference.
Thank you so much to Kathy for sharing those inspiring words. And now I want to say this. If you are feeling inspired, like you might want to implement what you're learning, then this is an opportunity right here and right now to step forward. The doors are open right now for this very special opportunity this week only to join Whole Life Club with a massive discount. So if you're feeling a yes, if you're feeling intrigued or curious, click the button, find out more, and step forward while you can. I'm so grateful myself to be part of this community, now over 8,000 members strong, who are supporting each other and learning together and growing together. It means the world to me, because you know what? We don't have to figure this out by ourselves. We live in a toxic food culture, but we're also creating a new food culture every day with every bite we take, every step we take, to live in a healthier, a healthier way that is more congruent with our values, with what we really want for our lives. And Whole Life Club is born and fashioned and created and renewed to help you do just that. So make sure to come on back and join us on Friday for our next action hour in this series. We'll be on with Dr. Dean Ornish as we focus on scientifically proven lifestyle interventions for preventing chronic disease. Then on Sunday, we will be on with one of the world's most beloved therapists and mindfulness teachers, Dr. Tara Brach. It's going to be such an incredible weekend. I'm so glad you're here. And if you're interested in joining in Whole Life Club, now is an incredible time to do so. So make sure to check it out. Enjoy some delicious, fabulous, healthy food. I'll look forward to seeing you Friday, and I thank you again. Let's do this. When it comes to cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, heart disease, and other chronic illness, what really matters isn't how many books you read, how many webinars you attend, or how much you know. What really matters at the end of the day is what you eat and how you live. The science has given us what we need to know. Now it's time for action. It's time to implement and optimize your healthy lifestyle. It's time to get results. It's time to say goodbye to confusion and hello to clarity. It's time to say goodbye to bad habits and hello to good ones. It's time to fall in love with foods that love you back. It's time to join a community that will support you in achieving your goals. It's time for Whole Life Club. Click the link to find out more and to join in now.